To Stamping A to Z. I'm Linda Gibbs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Canada. Well, that's a long-winded sentence. Stamping A to Z is my weekly live that I do. I started it on Facebook. I have recently moved over to YouTube. So things aren't, I'm not the most tech savvy. So forgive me if I'm, yeah, see? I had it on my iPad so I could see the chat and forgot the volume. If you are watching, please say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to hear from you. If you're watching the replay, let me know that you're watching the replay. I do check, so if you have questions, whatever, you can always put it in the comments or you can message me. Yeah, so today, episode 211, is all about the Beautiful Gallery suite. I started out, I don't even know how I come up with my weekly lives. Sometimes I'm just inspired and super excited to play with a certain product. Um, Other times it's techniques that I've learned or seen or thought to try, and want to present those. This week I kind of went on we have the buy one, get one half price sale for all of our suites. So whether it's the online exclusive suites, the annual catalog suites, or if you're a demonstrator, even the new suites that have in the pre-order for the online exclusives, those are all buy one, get one half price. Now, it is kind of a tricky sale, tricky to work around. If you're buying the full suites, it's fine because it'll take the lowest price suite and that one will be half price, just like kind of anything else. But if you put in a piece of a suite, it'll use that because it's the lowest price. So you want to be careful with your order. You only have to order up to $100 to make it worthwhile shipping wise. So I would break up your order if you have pieces and parts and full suites that you're trying to order to get the half price to get the biggest bang for your buck. But if you have questions about that, you can always reach out. Like I said, so till the end of June, those suites are half price. Hi, Yolande. The other thing that's still available is the big album retreat in July, the 12 two-page layouts for scrapbooking. So that's still available. And yeah, so I was going to try and feature a few of the suites together, and I just was not, it wasn't working. And the Beautiful Gallery is one that I've featured a few pieces and parts throughout my videos recently, but I wanted to play with it more and really showcase all of the suite itself. It's a really big suite. It has 2 bundles. It has an embossing folder. It has designer series paper, ribbon, embellishments, you name it, it's got it, and it's beautiful. So let me get you turned around and we'll get started playing with the suite if I can. I don't know how to do this without, I always get my hands in the picture. It's a talent. All right. Okay, so the suite can be found on page 52, 53, and more. So there's lots of good examples. A couple of my cards were inspired from some of their samples. These are the 2 bundles, and I just wanted to point out, which I'm going to be using this one. These 3 that are shaded, they don't fully cut out. They just cut out pop-ups. So there's an example. Oh, here we go. So here, this isn't a full piece. It's like it's popped up. You can kind of see here, it's not fully cut out. So that's kind of cool, a little bit different than the usual. And so this is one bundle. So you've got all your sentiments and then some extra pieces. And then you've got the Gallery Blooms, which has the beautiful peony and some flowers. I'm not sure what this is called, but I really like it. And then it's got the this frame die, which is awesome. It cuts out kind of 3 pieces in one. And then you've got all your cutouts for the stamps and some extras there. Then we've got the embossing folder, which I've used. It's not a 3D embossing folder. It is a regular embossing folder. And then we've got the embellishments and the beautiful, this ribbon is like, I just love the texture of it. It's soft and it's really pretty. And then we have the beautiful designer series paper as well. So this is a great one to, it would be nice if you could get this one half price because it's a big one. But there is another big one. I can't remember if it was in, this one is another one that has 2 bundles. And it's at, so if you were to do those 2, buy one, get one half price, you're saving a whole lot of money. So keep that in mind if you've got some sweets on your list. Unfortunately, I was hoping to get this one because that was the one I didn't have. And there's a bunch of pieces and parts that are back ordered. So, and I'm not even sure, I don't think they're even supposed to be in stock before the sale is over. Unfortunately, I didn't get on it fast enough, but I think all the other sweets are pretty much available. Even the retired one, like, so the ones that are in the last chance, I think there's some online exclusive ones. There's some from, so take a look and see. There's actually, if you go into specials, you can go under the sweet sale and it'll show you all the sweets that are available for the sale. Okay, so let me show you, rather than just in the catalog, I wanted to show you how big, like, so this is the one die set that goes with the Gallery Blooms. So this is the frame die that I mentioned, and then the cutouts for the stamps, and then the extra cutouts. And then the other bundle, it's a smaller bundle, but still. And this is the one, so there's one of the pieces is missing because I have it out to use. So it has 4 dies. These 2 plus the leaf one are the ones that semi cut out. And then, oh, I must have put a die in the wrong, I think this die goes here. I just put it on the wrong one. And then you have all the really nice sentiments and background stamps. So those are the 2 bundles. You saw the embossing folder, the ribbon. I don't know what happened to my embellishments in the mail. They obviously weren't stuck down because they're self-adhesive. They weren't stuck down to the paper, but you can still use them. So they do have the stickies on them. They're just kind of all over the place. And then the paper, which I've shown before, and it's absolutely beautiful. So for my first card, I'm going to use the one that semi-cuts. And I forgot to grab my Big Boss, but I will get that. I wanted to show kind of all the cutting for it so you could see kind of what it all does. So this is the frame one. Let me grab my Big Boss here. Let's move this aside. Okay, then I'm gonna have to, sorry, it's so close. I wonder if I can zoom it out a little bit. Yeah, you'll get the gist. So my first piece is going to be a background piece. The designer series paper is just like, you could just stick it on a card and be done. It's beautiful. Anyway, so you can choose kind of where you want to cut. I'm going to cut it off to the side. You could cut off the edge, but there's enough room to do it without. And then, although I always do recommend putting things like this at an angle, because then it doesn't get warped. So if you do cut it, then you have room to kind of shift it at an angle, which would be the better way to do it. But you can always kind of just give it a little. So you end up with this piece and then two frames. And I don't know if you can see in the video, the biggest frame actually has like mitered edges. The littler one does not have the edges, but it has like an edge on the inside. And then the little rectangle is just a plain rectangle. So we've got those. Let me set those aside. And then we've got this piece, which I forgot to cut. So hang on. Let's move this out of the way. And then we'll grab my cutter here. I thought I had it all prepped and ready to go. I don't know if it really matters which way I cut it. And I know I just want it smaller than this largest rectangle. So it's just, so if I go 3.5 by 5, so 3.5. Go a bit more than 5 then. 5 1/8. Okay. And then we want to run this through, set our frame aside, with the leaf die. Oh, there it is. It's like, where did it go? And I'm just going to put this in the center. So we will bring back, as it lands on my foot, my plate is so well loved. I'm going to have to put a new one soon. It's getting a little too well loved. When it gets too cut and soft, I find it doesn't cut as well. So what I do is, like, I always keep one on the top that I rotate so it doesn't get warped, and I rotate the bottom one. So when this one gets too used, I switch this one to the bottom and then put a new one on the top, is kind of how I rotate my plates. And that way you get kind of double as long. You know, you're really using up one plate at a time instead of 2 plates at a time. Okay. They got shaken, yeah. So here's what I meant by it partially cuts. Isn't that cool? And then I wanted it to stand out a bit more. So I decided to take my blender pen and the cloud cover, which is one of the new In Color refills. So I don't know if you've heard, we had issues with the cloud cover color on the big stamp pad. So Stampin' Up! Is only selling the refill, and you can make your own stamp pad with the little minis. Or there is a pre-inked mini in one of the sets that they have available in the annual catalog. And as a demonstrator, we were able to buy the large ones that they weren't happy with in terms of the color. I don't see what the color problem is. I've used, well, you'll see I'm going to use it on one of my cards. So I'm not sure, maybe I got lucky, or maybe I just don't have the eye, but so anyways, you have access to the refill. So I'm just gonna, there's also blends, and you could use the blend, which would probably blend in, but I wanted it to be light enough that it wouldn't be too, see See, this is actually darker than what I did the last time. Too in your face. I just wanted to kind of outline it gently. But I wanted it to kind of blend in, which maybe the blends would be better. You could use a water painter as well. That would give you more control as to the darkness. And you could do the lines as well, just depends how much you want to. I just wanted to accentuate the leaves, because you know, like they'll probably flatten in the middle, which you can still see the cutout, but so I probably would have done it a bit lighter had I paid more attention at the beginning to, and you can just keep rubbing off till you're happy kind of with how much saturation you have on there, and that's what you will get. So you can see it really doesn't take much ink to do that part of it. All right, then I have a piece of Lost Lagoon as my card base. I was gonna use cloud cover, but I felt like it was just getting lost. And then I have the Designer Series paper that I cut out, and you could do it simply like that, but I think it was one of the cards in the catalog. They didn't have it as a card, but they had a white piece in, which really makes it pop. So I kind of liked that idea. So the way I started this, the white is obviously a bit smaller than the leaves, which is actually a good thing, because then you can kind of pop them in there. I'm just going to put a very light bit of glue, and then pull it down. Oops. I think I actually put it on and put the glue in after, while it was already in place. Why won't this leaf pop? There we go. Pop. There we go. Okay. And then I need to center it a little bit better. See, the problem with putting less glue, I find, is that it sticks more right away, because I think it dries quicker. So here you just want to make sure that all the leaves are popped up where they should be. Come on. Why is this leaf not? Doesn't want to pop. There we go. Okay. I think they're all popped where they should be popped. So you can see it's not equal where it should be, but that's okay, because then you're just going to put your frame on top. Now I have a bit of excess at the bottom. I'll just cut that off afterwards. So I'm gonna put the glue on my paper, and that way I know that I'm hitting, and I won't, especially on that top part, I don't want the glue hanging off the top and making a mess. And then you know that it fits just perfectly because it's all one die. Isn't that pretty? So pretty, and not a lot of work. It does, the die does all the work for you. And then I'm just gonna trim off a little bit of excess paper, and then then all I have to do is add it to my card base. Now, this, I don't know why, maybe it was designed more for the I can never remember which is which, but they're like in Europe, their cardstock is slightly different, and so their cards are not quite as wide and they're taller. And so I'm wondering if that fits their cards better, which, so maybe I should make a different card base, but it's not. It's just a different look is all, which is fine. So you could pop it up, especially if you wanted to, or you could even put dimensionals behind the leaves so that they stay popped up. But I just, I think I glued it straight down. Pretty sure I did, yep. Oopsie, now you saw the finished one. And then I just took a strip of Lost Lagoon and stamped the Celebrate and embossed it in silver. And then I cut it and ended up with this as the finished card. So this was in the silver. I maybe should have done it in gold, I don't know. And then I added the embellishments, which are a bit different, but they kind of go with the background stuff. So that's card number 1. Card number 2 is my favorite, which I've used this peony before. And I'm going to use the embossing folder. So let's just pull this out here. And then I've got the blends. So this is the Cloud Cover blends, so the new in color, and this is Secret Sea, which is one of the new in colors as well. And I've got a Old Olive and a Mossy Meadow, both light versions. Here, oops, you're seeing my television. My, not ta-da, what am I looking for? Oh, my words. My thanks to television. You just want to ink it up. This is one where if you really want a good print off the bat, you could use your Stamparatus or a stamp positioning tool. I'm just gonna hope. That's why I inked it extra. I don't usually go over it that many times. Yes, I feel like this one that I'm doing now, that last one would make a good sympathy as well. Maybe I'll change the sentiment. This one that I'm doing now is I did as a, it can be a sympathy or anything because it's thinking of you. So yeah, you can totally, the colors do kind of lend itself for that sneak peek. Yeah. I didn't mean to give a sneak peek. All right, you want to make sure that your Memento is nice and dry before you start coloring with the blends, or it will smudge. It's meant to not smudge, but in order for it not to smudge, you want to make sure that it's dry. So I came in, and I don't know, it's probably not very realistic to have kind of a bluey gray peony, but you know, when they're white, they kind of could, I guess they're more pinky than bluey, but anyways, I was going with this color scheme because that's kind of the colors of the Designer Series paper, which is another, it can be good, or some people might not like it, but having the Designer Series paper match things makes it much easier to kind of pick and choose a color scheme, because you can just go with what the color scheme is on the paper. So here I've got the dark Cloud Cover. So I'm coming in with the dark, and then I came in with the light Secret Sea, and I just kind of went over where there's black shading, which is also nice because usually where they put the shading on the stamps is where there should be shading in your coloring. So it kind of is like the cheater coloring stamp. So I'm not going to color the whole thing because you'll be bored. And then for the leaves, I just did the light Old Olive. Now the color that's in the designer series paper, if you look at what colors they use, it's Mossy Meadow, but Old Olive and Mossy Meadow to me are like interchangeable. So now I'm gonna come in with my Mossy Meadow and just add a bit of darkness there. Give it a bit more texture. So then we'll go back to my sneak peek. There's the finished one all cut out. So there's an outline die to cut it out, which is nice. It does the work for you. If you're like me and fussy cutting isn't always at the top of your list. And then I've got, this is one of the pieces of the designer series paper. This is the one side, and then it has this nice kind of ombre look to it, and I'm going to emboss. So you don't always have to emboss just a piece of cardstock. You can emboss designer series paper, if I can find the embossing folder. And in order to do the embossing on a regular folder, it's different than the 3D. So the 3D, you use just the plate and the gray plate. With the regular, you use two clear embossing plates. So I keep two separate plates that don't go through with the dies or anything. They're just for embossing. Because I find sometimes if you've got like a, depending, maybe a, I don't know, when it's too bumpy and stuff, it can transfer through, and I don't know. Call me crazy. But I have my, and they've always, like, I don't change these out because they don't get wrecked or lose anything, because there's no cutting or dies going through, you know, like the folder is flat and smooth, so it doesn't do anything to the plates. So those you can keep forever and ever and ever as your embossing plates. So then you've got that nice embossed. You could go over, if you wanted to add a bit so it shows up more, you could add some Secret Sea or some gray. I left it as is, as a more kind of subtle background. And then I cut out my frame. So we've got our flowers here. I cut out my frame, and I don't know if you can see it in the video. It's kind of got a brushed texture. It's called brushed silver and gold foil. There's 3 sheets of each in a pack, and it's in the last chance items right now for $6.87 instead of $13.75. So if you need some foil, silver and gold foil, and don't mind the brushed lines, which for frames it's great, it's a really good deal. I just saw that the other day. It's like, oh, I should have got some. Okay, what am I doing here? I popped this up. Oh, I was looking for my card base. So this one I cut lengthwise. This is the Secret Sea. I do find it harder to fold it, get a nice fold, so I do prefer to score my cardstock when it's the long way. That way I know my cardstock isn't gonna crack and cry when I fold it. And then we've got our designer series paper here, which I use glue. Abracadabra. Oh, my first card, the ta-da, yes. My ta-da. All right, so you could also sand it. I don't know if you can see. Oops, I put that on a little bit crooked. Thanks to glue, you can slide it. it does crack a little where the color is, so you can see a bit of white. So if you want to accentuate that whiteness, you could sandpaper it a little bit. And then for the frame, whoopsie, I'm going to put some dimensionals. And maybe some little ones in the middle here. I always like to make sure they're stuck down, because when you go to peel the backing off, sometimes it comes off if it's not stuck well, and it's easier to then pull the backings off too if it's well stuck. Okay, and then this one I'm going to put at an angle. And then decide kind of how my flowers are going to go, and that's going to tell me where to put my dimensionals. So I can put one kind of lower down here, and then one closer in here, and then the middle one can go anywhere, obviously. And then we probably want a little one down here and another little one somewhere here. Okay. Oops. And then you could put some glue as well to stick it, but I think I have enough dimensionals on here that I'm not too fussed with that. Isn't that pretty? All right, so then, like I said, I did do Thinking of You. The Thinking of You fits perfectly in the label from the Beautiful Butterflies dies. Like, me and words and my mouth don't always cooperate. All right, so then I stuck that there. So Thinking of You, you could kind of make it like, depending what you put on the inside of the card, it could be sympathy, it could be anything really. And then I added the flat pearls. These are the in color flat pearls, so this is the Secret Sea. So that's what I used with the magic of television, the finished. So there's the Thinking of You and the pearls. And ta-da! All right, that's card number 2. Card number 3. So this is where I'm pulling in some basic beige, some more cloud cover. I do have, as a demonstrator, I was able to get the cloud cover. So I am going to use that to stamp, and you'll see, I don't know, to me it's like pretty darn close, if not. But maybe they said like it reacts with the foam, so maybe over time it'll react. I'm not sure. So I wanted to show, and it does show in the catalog some samples where the frames are square or different sizes. So I wanted you to realize that you're not stuck with this size of frame. You could make it so that it is, you could do even wider if you use the cutting trick with the plates. But for this, I wanted to make it a square. So I'm going to take the one that has the edges, and I'm going to cut right on that line, just on either side. So not all 4, just 2 of them. And then I'm going to create a square that way. And I want it to be, I don't know if I'm going to be in the camera doing this. Let me bring it down a little bit, maybe to the bottom. that. So I'm going to put my one piece in the corner here, and I want it to be 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. So if I kind of set myself up, and I found the easiest thing to do is just to put a wee dab of glue on each of these corners, and then you can adjust it, and then I seal it up afterwards once I've got everything. Oops, I told myself not to put it down and then I did. Okay, now I really don't have much glue, but oops. So I'm going to start wider than I want so the glue doesn't go everywhere. All right. So let's go 3 3 3/4 is here, and 3 3/4, whoops, is there. Now it doesn't have to be exact. I don't think anyone's going to take your card and go, this isn't quite right, but I do want to have the beveled edge kind of lined up. That's my main goal, I guess. You want it to look like a proper frame. Frame surgery, yeah. All right, and then you just have to cut it. Scary, I know, but. And then you still have your 4 corner pieces. Now, before I really stick it together with dimensionals on the back, I'm going to stamp on it with the, I was going to do the hello, but now that you mentioned the sympathy stuff, wonder, you could do just a note. I'm going to do the hello just because it's where we're at. Oh, you're gonna take a T-square and measure everything up? Well, it's funny because I read T-square and it's like, oh, that's what I should have used. I should have used my little T to square things up. I'm totally gonna do that. Oh, nice. Did he like the card? Which card was it? Okay. So for the hello, I'm going to get smart this time. I ended up burying my main hello with my ribbon. So now that I know where my ribbon's going, I'm going to put my main hello here. And then I'm just going to go around and stamp away. Now be careful. I did realize that you probably don't want to stamp the 4 letters where it's got hell. Oops, I meant to go in the middle here. You can do L, you can do low, but you know, I don't know. It's just me. I just thought that probably wouldn't be a good good thing to stamp, but I mean, you just kind of want to be kind of random, if that makes sense. There we go. So we've got some random stamping, but we have our one main hello. So when you put it together, you want to make sure that you don't have it sideways or upside down or something silly. I cut my card base. So I had 8.5 this way and then 4 1/4. So you just have to fold that over and that gives you a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. Now, obviously you would have to make an envelope for this unless you're just handing it over to someone. But making envelopes can be fun too. Maybe I'll have to do, maybe that's what I'll do one of these videos, is I'll do envelope making. And then I just took one of the stamps and I'm gonna stamp me a background. Ooh. Except for you should be careful when you're stamping. Don't talk and stamp. It's dangerous. At least for me anyways. I don't know about you guys, maybe you're more talented than I. Oh, look at me. How did I get blue all over the back of my card? Talent. That is talent. I'm very talented. And if you want to get something here on the edge, you can just fold it over, or you could cover it, whatever works. I'm not too worried about it not being perfectly stamped because it's going to get mostly covered anyways. So you've got your bag. Now it looks quite dark. It does lighten a lot as it dries, which might be part of where they were thinking it wasn't the right color. But there's this leaf one that cuts really nice. There's lots of pieces and parts that you could make nice. So I wanted to add it here. So now the way I add my stuff, I kind of cheat. I take a dimensional and I stick it down. And then I know that these, their top three, are going to stick to the frame. So I can put glue, just a wee dab. Onto those. And then they'll be stuck. So that's my first piece. That's just plain cut out. And then I've got this one that I stamped and cut ahead of time. So you can see how light this is. This is how much it lightens as it dries. And then this one I want to add some color to it. So if you only have the ink refill, you can use that. And very delicately brush. This is a very delicate kind of cutout. You don't want to be too rough with it. My watch is saying, I'm now playing. I'm not sure what I'm watching, but okay, so I've got that part. And then the Secret C, this one is okay as the stamp pad, so this one is available. Okay, I need to write down that I need to do an envelope session. I think that would be fun. We could do like making different size envelopes and there. So we kind of have the two colors blended into each other. You don't need a lot of the Secret C. It is quite dark. I love these two colors. Okay, so then I think I want this one next to go somewhere like so. So then I'm going to turn it around again and I'm going to stick it down here. And I'm not going to glue that there because the glue is just going to squirt everywhere. And then I've got my solid piece that hopefully I didn't leave a lot of space there. I should have used a smaller dimensional, or should have put it in beforehand. Okay, squeeze, little one, squeeze. I want it lower down. I need it lower down and I don't have enough room. So I'm going to do a little bit of surgery here. So did you know if you do this and you want to remove it and you don't want to wreck, if you kind of grab it, this kind of wrecks your dimensional, but and twist it, oops, unless you grab the leaves with you, it won't tear the paper, except for I tore the leaf instead. All right, so I think I want this kind of lower down, like so. Okay, and now my dimensional is kind of not so sticky anymore. So, oh jeez, let's take a new one. We'll stick it all down. And I'm going to cut this one off. If I can find my scissors. And I'm going to cut some of this stem, not all of it. I do want some of that stem. Okay. Maybe not. We'll leave it for now. All right, now that we have this solid part, you can turn it over and you can put dimensionals to kind of stick things together and so that it doesn't collapse when you put it on here. And I think I can get one more over here. There. And that way, when you stick it down, it's all popped up, but it's not going to fly anywhere. And this one, I can't remember. Maybe it'll just flap in the wind. All right, see you later. Thanks for coming and watching. And then I'm going to stick my frame, because it only has those two little glue dots holding it together, but it's holding. So then I'll put 4 there. If you want to add little ones here, and then maybe one. Actually, maybe that's, I don't think I can. I was thinking of putting a big one if I could get it to stick, but I don't think so. So then you just have to stick it down. Okay. And then, so my thing is sticking out a little too far. So we'll just give it I'm going to snip off this leaf so it looks more like a tail than a. And then we need a little bow. So like I said, this ribbon is so soft and nice to work with. You could use a bow maker if you have one and like them. I have one somewhere here. I'm not even sure. Oh, it's over there. But this ribbon is very nice to work with. Nope, just want a nice little bow. And then a glue dot is usually the handiest way to stick your bows down. Make sure I don't see. And now I've got my bow kind of where my bouquet ends, and then my hello is still nicely visible. So that's card number 3. But you can see how many pieces and parts and variety that there is that you can kind of play with to make a very different. I mean, I kind of stayed with the same color scheme, but they're still all very different cards in their own way. So those are my cards for this week. So don't forget, if you are wanting to register, not register, if you are wanting to get involved with the scrapbook retreat, make sure you order your kit. It is automatic registration when you order your kit. The buy one get one half price sale is on till the end of June, so if you have sweets on your list, now is a good time to take advantage of that. And yeah, that is everything. I believe I will be back next week. The week after I won't be here, but I should be back next week, so maybe I will do some kind of envelope tutorial. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week and a good weekend, and we'll hopefully see you next week. All right, take care. Bye.